I've heard more than one say, this is not a question of if, it's only a question of when. It will either be a military event. By the way, did you see the news this week that North Korea is now, some intelligence reports are saying that they have perfected a miniaturization of a nuclear weapon. Combine that with rockets from Iran. Iran, how many of you know Iran is in this interesting little practice of taking a container ship out into the Caspian Sea and shooting missiles straight up, which is not how you put things into orbit. And then they say, well, oh, the missile went out of control and we blew it up 250 miles. Well, it fits the profile of an EMP launch. All you need to do is put a container ship off the United States coast, loft one up, and bang, you got it. How many of you ever heard of the Carrington event? 1859. Please do look it up. This was the solar storm in 1859 that blew the Victorian internet apart. Telegraphy wires melted off of the poles. Telegraphy stations burst into flames. Railroad ties, because of the electrification going through the rails, railroad ties were bursting into flames. I was at a conference last year of about 1,800 people, all of them experts. Now, usually when you go to a big scholarly conference type thing, you always got some wise guy who has to prove himself. When at the end of somebody's paper and presentation, the wise guy, you know, on page 23 of your report, footnote 34, you forgot to put a comma here, and besides that, you're a real idiot because, you know, blah, blah. Well, this team got up that had been evaluating the generating capacity of the United States post-recovery. This one spooked me. They took a look at the 500 largest generating facilities in the eastern United States. Their estimate is, after a major event, 80% of them would still be offline 5 years later. Why? Guess who makes the spare parts? We are a just-in-time delivery system now. Gone are the days of something breaking and the guy picks up a phone and dials and says, hey Charlie, we need another 23-4 over here immediately. Okay, I'll go to the warehouse and get it. No, now it's type it in. It comes out of the assembly line in Shanghai, is put on a 747 and arrives 2 days later. The analogy I give on this is sort of like it's December 1941 and a bunch of people are sitting, you know, military guys, and they're saying, you know, it looks like we're going to go to war with Japan within a month. It's going to be bad. And then some smart colonel puts his finger up. He says, guys, we only got one problem. And it's like, what's that, sir? You know that all the spare parts for our planes and all our aircraft carriers are made in Japan. Do you think we should try and get some more before the bad stuff starts? That's the condition we're in at this moment. Let me close with this point. And let's go to questions. When I got started into this, and the book came out, I was still thinking top-down bureaucracy. I mean, the guy who helped inspire me to write this was going to be a presidential candidate. I've talked with a lot of congressmen, senators about this. It's like, let's get some mobilization going here, and let's get the feds. See, I was very innocent once. I'm going to talk about stories of my lost innocence. But House Bill 5028 finally went through last year. Bipartisan support. Very liberal, Benny Thompson, Roscoe Bartlett worked together. They had one of the very few bills come out of the House last year, unanimous support. Everybody's going, by gosh, we've got to do something. This was some initial funding to start the beginning process of hardening infrastructure. One person in the Senate, the head of one committee, shelved it. Why? Because it didn't have the perks she wanted for her state. It's still sitting on that shelf. And it was on that day, I was just like, we're never going to see the feds. Listen to your own words, Bill. How many times have you said, didn't Katrina teach us that sitting on the roof and holding up a sign saying, help me, is not going to work anymore? I mean, we saw all the news out of the tragedy at Joplin last month, and the miracle stories, with the stories of people who were already prepared, had the drill down, knew what to do, and if they didn't have a basement, they knew, get into that bathtub, pull a mattress over on top of you, and pray like crazy, and get a bicycle helmet on your kid at least. We didn't see, at least as survivors, anybody taking their lawn chair and sitting out front and holding up a sign saying, FEMA, I'm here. By the way, why is it that FEMA is buying up all emergency food supplies right now? Have you noticed that? And it's not in the news? I realize now it's you. It's you. No, seriously. If anything's going to save the country, it's you. It's we the people. One of my old favorite movies when I was a kid was Drums Along the Mohawk. Henry Fonda, out on the frontier, the revolution. And remember? The bad guys come. Does the National Army show up to defend them? No, what do? They defend themselves. It's that great scene of them getting into the fort, that Henry Fonda running 20 miles to get help from some neighbors. It's we the people. We the people, starting as you as an individual, and then you. And how many people do we have here who are in their community fire departments, or law enforcement, or EMTs? Put your hands up, please. You're the next step up of working together to organize a community to be ready. How much does it actually cost to put in a basic communication system, get some Faraday bags, those are really cool, the ones they got out there, store that equipment away that you have communications up within a matter of minutes. And then we the people, from our community to our county to our state, don't wait for them, it's us. I think that every day when I look at my daughter. She graduated from high school last week. She's going to college at UNCA this fall. And there was a thought in the back of my mind, she's within walking distance of home. One of the things that really disturbs me is that when I travel, my daughter will get a little bit anxious. I went to England last month. And I've lied to her more than once, in which I said, no matter, if anything happens, honey, Daddy will get home. And she said, Dad, you're in England. If the stuff goes down, I said, sweetheart, you're old enough. You know how to take care of yourself. You know where everything is. You know who to rely on. We've already got a community plan in place. She's going to get through it. I know that. But that is dependent upon us, we the people. So let's go to questions, but I want to close with one more comment from Abraham Lincoln. In that same speech that he gave in his annual address to Congress, December 1st, 1862, he concluded with, the fiery trial through which we pass shall light us down in honor or dishonor unto the latest generation. We, even we here, hold the power, bear the responsibility. Abraham Lincoln was speaking to us. He was speaking to his generation, saying, think to the future. The fiery trial through which we pass shall light us down in honor or dishonor. We have been given a legacy that dates back to Lexington. There's so many stricken battlefields, won and lost. There's so much sacrifice. We owe everything to those who gave their lives, those who suffered, those who bear wounds. How do we look them in the face? When our day comes to go before the Lord, I also think that I have to be able to look in the faces of more than one and say, I tried my best as an American. So we bear that responsibility. And then the other responsibility is to ensure that we pass on to the latest generation that no matter what happens to us, we will transcend, we will endure, and America will continue to be America. Thank you.